The Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and your local cable provider presents Cable Reports. Join us now as Cable Reports brings you up to date on current issues facing the Commonwealth through discussions with your local legislators and other policymakers from across Virginia.
From the General Assembly and the City of Richmond, I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Comcast, connecting Virginians to their government. We're pleased to have Senator John Edwards with us this morning. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you, Woody. Appreciate your having me.
It's about, 2 weeks into the 60-day session.
Right.
How are things going, sir?
Well, a little contentious, but we're getting settled in. Most of the issues are not partisan, but there are some partisan issues. So, yes, it has been a fairly contentious in some ways. I'm hoping it settles down. The governor set the right tone in his State of the Commonwealth address about we need to work together on things we can work together on and compromise and recognize that we're here to do the work of the people and not just get off on these partisan issues.
Tell us a little bit about part of your district that includes the county of Montgomery and the city of Blacksburg.
I represent, of course, most of Montgomery County and the town of Blacksburg, Giles County, and Roanoke City, and a part of Roanoke County. Over 200,000 people. It was 200,000 when we redistricted in 2011. I'm sure it's grown since then. But it's a terrific district. I really love it. It's a combination of rural and urban. And I like the fact that we are a high-tech and a higher education community. I mean, with Virginia Tech and others, and the Carilion and Lewis Gale hospital centers, we are a real, not only a higher education community, but also a healthcare community. I mean, healthcare is the most rapidly growing sector of our economy and also the largest sector of my district.
So there must be a real comfort to you and your constituents because you have not been as dependent upon the federal government's largesse as Northern Virginia and other parts of the state.
That's true. Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads area, of course, heavily dependent upon the federal government. We're depending upon research dollars too, so it's not exactly we're not dependent on whatever research dollars from the federal government and foundations as well. So we are affected, but you're right, not as much as Northern Virginia, for example.
And of course, you mentioned Virginia Tech, you mentioned Carilion, the medical college, and also a research institute. They're real economic drivers. Talk to us about their importance.
Well, the combination of Virginia Tech and Carilion putting together a School of Medicine in Roanoke is very exciting, and also the research institute they're doing is also exciting. We will be celebrating, graduating the third class of the medical school, the VTC, Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine this May.
It's been that long. Wow, it seems like yesterday.
I know, it does. This will be the third class, so it's been 7 years since we got started. And I've talked to a lot of the students there, and they are just dynamite. Their resumes, their interest, their excitement. I mean, they could have gone anywhere. I forget the figures, but like of 2,000 applications, they take 42, something like that. So the School of Medicine is just top notch, and we're very proud of it. Also, the Research Institute. They now have something like over 200 research scientists from all over the country and all over the world, in fact. Michael Friedlander came from Houston to head up the Virginia Tech Carilion Research Institute. And they're doing research and publishing in nationally ranked journals of all sorts of things. They're studying things like Alzheimer's and autism, brain injuries, trauma to the brain, concussions, a whole series of neurological things that I don't even understand. and as I say, I've met some of the research scientists that have come to Roanoke, and as I say, all over the place, from Harvard and Georgetown and Georgia Tech, Stanford, London, all over the country. Just top-notch, brilliant young scientists, and I think this is really adding to the kind of economy we're developing, which is an economy that's transitioning from the industrial manufacturing age to the information, high-tech, digital age. And the opportunities now in the 21st Senate District are even more than they've ever been before. I think, as I've said, we're really poised for progress in this region, the New River Valley, Roanoke Valley region. People love to live in the community, but also the opportunities, especially for young people, are enormous. And the people that go to Tech love Tech, and they like staying here. And of course, the Corporate Research Center at Tech has grown dramatically, and it's a tremendous opportunity for people to live here.
It's kind of interesting because Virginia Tech has been in the news the last week. One of its professors has been hired by the city of Flint, Michigan to ensure that the water quality should be
That's right.
should be pristine, let's put it that way.
Well, Tech is on the cutting edge of so many things with the new president and the new excitement that's going on at Tech, not just in the athletic field,
right.
but in the labs. And the research that's going on this is where the action is. I mean, people, there was an article I read not long ago from, I forget where it came from, Boston or somewhere, about the Roanoke region and the New River Valley and the excitement that's going on, the activities that are going on. The young people are coming to our region, and for good reason. There's opportunity here and there's excitement.
I understand they're coming from all over the world now, too.
They really are. The diversity is enormous. We have, in the Roanoke New River Valley region, over 100 cultural groups that live in our community, and they add to the diversity, but also add to the strength and to the ideas and the innovation that's going on in our community. So it's very exciting.
And Virginia Tech has been a leader in robotics as well, has it not?
That's what I understand. It's amazing what they're doing at Tech. All the different research and all these different things, transportation, robotics, as you say, drones, the whole, you can go a whole catalog of things that they're really doing. It's very exciting.
Well, I'm sure the governor is pleased because this is the new Virginia economy in the making.
Exactly. It's the new Virginia economy, and it's the new American economy. It's the new worldwide economy in terms of where we're going in the future. We're really leading, I think, Virginia. We're part of the region that's leading Virginia into the 21st century. I mean, Northern Virginia with its, information technology up there, all the various AOL and others that are in Northern Virginia. But Virginia Tech and Roanoke and the New River Valley, Roanoke region is leading the way as well. Both, not just in innovations and research, but as I mentioned earlier, healthcare. We are a major healthcare center when you think of where you're going to go for treatment or where you're going to go for research in healthcare, you're going to look at Roanoke. And in fact, I've been told that in the future, in probably the next few years, Roanoke region and the New River Valley region, especially with the Research Institute, Virginia Tech Crediting Research Institute, will be known as the brain research capital of America. And that's very exciting. As who would have thought that 10 years ago?
Good point.
That we were really going to be on the map, and we're going to be on the map for a lot of reasons. That would be one of the reasons.
Another piece of the puzzle that you've worked on in terms of economic activity relates to rail.
That's
and
right.
I know that is about to be a dream come true, so to speak.
Yeah, I've been working on that a long time. I got the funding for the connector bus 4 years ago. That's been very successful. That goes from Blacksburg to Roanoke on the weekends, and then from Roanoke to the Lynchburg Amtrak train every day. People love it. It is connecting us to the Northeast Corridor, going to D.C., New York, and Boston. And in the next 18 months, we ought to be having a brand new Amtrak train starting in downtown Roanoke, right on Norfolk Avenue, south of the tracks between the Jefferson Street and the Martin Luther King Bridge. And I've been working on that, trying to get some of the kinks taken care of. They're going to have the high level platform as opposed to the low platform where you have to climb up into the train. And that's a major a major advance, because we weren't sure we were going to be able to do that 6 months ago. But we've been working very hard to make sure. It's going to cost some money, and I'm getting the money from the Commonwealth now, and I'll hope to have some announcements soon as to the fact that we have the money to make sure we can build that high-level platform to enter the train and leave the train in downtown Roanoke. We still have mid-2017 as the time for launching the very first train out of Roanoke. The first time since 1979 we've had a passenger rail out of Roanoke. And I think connecting the Roanoke-New River Valley to the Northeast Corridor by Amtrak is good for tourism. It's good for the students of Virginia Tech, for example. It's good for bringing in business. I mean, being on the main line of Amtrak is very exciting, and it's going to be nothing but positive for economic development. And we're also looking at bringing Amtrak to the New River Valley, hopefully by 2020. We're already working on a location. We've already decided the location of the depot. The Amtrak depot will be in Christiansburg on 460 near the rec center, not too far from Virginia Tech, either the right side or left side of 460. But so that's been decided, and the next step is doing a study to find out how much money we're going to need to upgrade the line between Roanoke and Christiansburg. We already spent $295 million, I believe it was, to improve the line between Lynchburg and Roanoke. You have to improve the rail line because it belongs to Norfolk Southern, and we need to improve the rail line for rail passenger for a number of reasons. One is that rail passenger needs to go faster than freight. And so we did that preliminary to bring in Amtrak to Roanoke, and we're in the process of finding out how much money we need to bring Amtrak to Christiansburg. But it's coming.
Good.
And I think the people at Virginia Tech I've been working with, and also the New River Valley, and there are a lot of them, they're very excited about this. They talk about what a benefit this would be to the students at Virginia Tech to be able to take a train to college. Sure. And their parents will visit more often. Exactly. And maybe the students will think that's not a good idea. I don't know, I'm just kidding. But the polls show that more of the parents will visit more often if we have a train.
Sure, it's good for the athletic department as well.
Everything, and going to the football games, yeah, for tourism, for all sorts of reasons. And people already take Amtrak by taking the connector bus to Lynchburg, but being able to hop on the train in Christiansburg, take a nap and wake up in Boston.
That's nice.
It's very exciting.
Absolutely. Just curious, on the freight side, what access would I have as an employer, especially if I'm involved in exporting an international product to the Port of Virginia?
Well, I mean, going west? Well, the train would go through Elliston up to Columbus, I believe it is, Ohio. I'm not sure exactly where it goes, but we've improved the Heartland corridor for Norfolk Southern, so the trains won't have to go up to north and cut across. Okay. And we've saved, I forget, 24 hours or so, maybe more, of time by going directly through Virginia, West Virginia, than going up to Pennsylvania and over. I think that's where it was going before. And we've done that by raising the tunnels and by improving the bridges. A lot of infrastructure. We did that several years ago. So it should be easier now to go directly from the Port of Virginia at Portsmouth and Norfolk to out toward the Midwest.
Great, great. You mentioned healthcare, especially in Roanoke, being a center. Is there a VA hospital there?
There is. It's a VA hospital inaugurated by Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1934. Yeah. And it is a major medical center for the VA. It's expanded over the years. It's extremely important to our veterans who live in the Roanoke region. And right next to that, we have the Virginia Veterans Care Center, operated by the Department of Veterans Services in Virginia. And that is providing tremendous help to veterans who need, nursing care, and we even have an Alzheimer's unit at the Virginia Veterans Care Center, which is right on the border between Salem and Roanoke. So that's very important to our region.
And I think there are 2 new veteran service centers that are going to open up, one in Hampton Roads and one in Northern Virginia.
That's right. We have another one already, the Setter Barford Veterans Care Center next to the McGuire VA Hospital south of Richmond. But we've also appropriated funding to build a Veterans Care Center in the Hampton area and somewhere in Northern Virginia.
And I take it a lot of the educational opportunities that we discussed earlier are available for our veterans, retired military, active duty, especially those who are returning from theaters of war.
We've expanded the services for veterans, which is something I've been particularly interested in recent years, since the last 10 years or so, both in terms of expanding the Veterans Care Centers, but we now have a cemetery, Virginia Veterans Cemetery, which is in Dublin. We just opened it up a few years ago, the first one in Western Virginia. And we also have programs, we added more agents to assist veterans with their federal VA benefits. That's very important, to help the veterans to apply for these benefits. And so our services to veterans in Virginia has increased dramatically. We have a program called the V3 program, Veterans, Virginia Values Veterans, where we encourage employers to hire veterans. Veterans have a skill set in technology and other fields that sometimes you don't get otherwise. And in addition, veterans are by definition people who know how to give orders and take orders. And it's very important to have that kind of internal discipline and work ethic. And so when you hire a veteran, we're trying to convince employers to understand when you hire a veteran, you're hiring somebody with a great deal of competence.
And as I understand it, for instance, someone who has gained an expertise through experience overseas or even domestically has an opportunity to gain credit at a junior college now, for example.
We're doing that, and Tim Kaine in Washington has been pushing this as well. Give some credit to the veterans' work experience while in the military, and they have a lot of it, remarkably so in the field of technology. A lot of them have been doing some high-tech stuff while in the military, and so employers need to understand the value that veterans can give to their companies. And I think we're trying to promote that, and I think it's working.
Yeah, I guess one or two examples of that would be in the field of cybersecurity, or someone who was a medic, for example.
Exactly. Medics, they have a skill set that can be used instantly for a lot of companies.
Pre-K. I know you've been a leader in that matter for a number of years. Where are we in terms of funding?
Well, that's a good question. I put in the first universal pre-K bill 10 years ago. 11 years ago, and I put some more funding, more budget requests to expand pre-K faster than we are. We've learned that children who have the pre-K education, 4-year-old education, do better in life. They do better in school. All the studies show they don't get in trouble with the laws often. For example, they're better citizens. So the earlier we can get children in a program that's at the option of the parents, that's age appropriate, to nurture them and to teach them, the better they become as citizens, the better grades they get, the more success they have in life. And so I think pre-K is one of the most important things we can do for the future. In fact, the head of the company that owns Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock said it's a national security issue, in his opinion. In fact, the most important thing we can do for the future of the economy of the country is pre-K. And I think he's right, and more people are understanding that.
Yeah, I guess the old adage, pay for it now or pay more later would apply.
That's right. The people we find that get in trouble in life and go to jails, and so many of them had very bad backgrounds, especially earlier in life. So the earlier we can get children, nurture them, and teach them in age-appropriate fashion, the better they're going to be as citizens, happier they're going to be as citizens as well.
So how are your local school districts faring? I noticed that the governor has some increases in terms of K through 8. He also has, in his second year of the budget, I believe, an increase for teacher salaries and all state employees.
That's right. He's front-loaded his budget for education, public and higher education. He's got a bond package as well that'll help higher education. And so I think what he's doing is the right direction. Put education first. That's the most important thing we can do.
You still hearing much about the standards of learning and the kind of stresses that has brought on parents, teachers, and students?
Yeah. I and some others have put in a bill to abolish the SOLs, other than what is required at the federal level. I've never thought they work too well. high standards, we all want that, but the problem with the SOLs is it kind of forces teachers to teach to the tests, it crowds out electives, it puts a lot of stress on students just to get the test done. You don't learn simply by taking tests. We have tests and we will continue to have tests, but you learn by engaging students and getting them interested. Einstein once said, imagination is more important than knowledge. I'd say curiosity is more important than knowledge. Knowledge, you have to have a knowledge base, but what you learn today is not what you necessarily need to know tomorrow. But if you have the curiosity and the love of learning, you will continue to learn as a lifelong learner. And that's what's really important, to teach students to want to learn. So they'll become lifelong learners, and just simply testing them. I was surprised to see some of the fourth grade tests. These kids spent hours, 4 hours. Come on, that's ridiculous. And so we've put too much emphasis on test taking as opposed to learning how to learn and loving to learn. And once you get a person involved in wanting to learn and being curious and loving to learn, then you got yourself somebody who'll be successful.
What about school discipline and the use of school resource officers? I understand, at least in some jurisdictions, that there have been some problems because the school resource officers have been a little bit more aggressive than they might have been.
They were not designed to be disciplinarians. The teachers and the administration are supposed to do the discipline. The school resource officers have a different function, and unfortunately some of them have become, the disciplinarians, and they're not supposed to be that. So I think we got to get that straightened out.
In terms of the raises for teachers, that will require, will it not, a match from the locality? Yes,
I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, but it always requires some kind of match from the localities. But the idea is we need to get the teacher salaries up there. These are some of the most important people in our society. When you think about it, everybody can point to a teacher that made a difference in their lives. So we need to value public education, value what teachers are doing, and give incentives to teachers, and giving them a raise is a good idea.
Now, we all know how expensive it is to go to a four-year institution now, and I think you're doing some work on that issue as well.
I have. In 1997, I had a resolution that passed to set as a policy of the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth would pay 70% of the cost of in-state higher education. The students 30%. Actually, it's become a flip-flop. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, we actually got it up significantly. But we've gone backwards in the last 15 years. And right now, I don't know exactly what it is, but we're lucky if the Commonwealth is paying 30 or 40% of the cost of higher education. I put in a budget amendment to reduce tuition by 5% across the board, about $88 million across the board. And I think we need to focus on making sure college is affordable, more accessible. I also have a 2-year scholarship match program where if somebody wants to make a contribution to the Community College Foundation for scholarship, the state will match it 50-50. Now, I've tried that before and I haven't gotten much success, but I think we need to move in the direction of finding ways, more ways, to make college more affordable for more people, and getting tuition down is at least one thing we should be doing.
Now, do we still have the TAG program, the tuition assistance grants?
Yeah, that's been a very good program for private schools in Virginia, colleges and universities, where in-state students can get it was $2,500, maybe $3,500 now a year. I forget the exact figure, but that's been a good program to make private schools for Virginia in-state students more affordable.
I take it there's still that balance that the universities have to make between those out-of-state students who help to subsidize the in-state residents.
Well, for example, at Tech, I think the cost is about $15,000 for a student. Out-of-state students pay maybe $28,000. In-state students, the Commonwealth's only paying about $4,300, of the $15,000 that needs to be paid, in that range, and that's unfortunate. Adjusted for inflation, 15 years ago, the Commonwealth was providing about $9,500 for the students at Virginia Tech, for example. Now we're paying, $4,300 or something like that. So we've gone backwards. And I think a part of the problem has been huge part of the problem is the Commonwealth not funding higher education like it should. And so we need to find ways to make colleges more affordable. There are other things that we can do as well. But I've been pushing ever since I've been in the Senate to improve higher education, but also make it more affordable, more accessible. The Roanoke Higher Education Center in Roanoke, for example, that I've been so involved in, 12 colleges and universities offering the third and fourth year of college, as well as the graduate programs, masters, and even PhDs in Roanoke, is a affordable way to get an education. It's basic education. And our community colleges, of course, are very important because it's basic education. They're a lot less expensive than for the first 2 years of college than at a four-year school. In fact, I worked on the program that's in place now. It's called the two-year college transfer grant program. If you get an associate's degree from a community college and you go to a third and fourth year of college, you get in and so forth, then there's a grant to help, because the idea is to encourage you to go to community college first, because it's cheaper for the Commonwealth. And then if we can give you a grant that incentivizes you to go to the community college first, and the students are doing every bit as well when they get to the third and fourth year of college on average as those that started out at a four-year college.
Great. We touched on healthcare just a little bit. Got a couple of minutes left. We still have this continuing controversy / debate going on about expanding Medicaid.
It is unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable. Expanding Medicaid, in my opinion, is a no-brainer. It will create 30,000 new jobs. Nobody's really questioning this. It will cover up to 400,000 citizens in Virginia. It'll make, right now we're treating those living under the federal poverty level as second-class citizens. They don't qualify for the subsidy under the Federal Affordable Care Act. And they don't get Medicaid because they don't qualify because we haven't expanded Medicaid. And so therefore, if you live under the federal poverty level, you're out of luck. I mean, you're being treated as a second-class citizen, and that's just plain not right. So there's a moral issue here, but there's a financial issue here. Just in the New River Valley, my district, and the Roanoke Valley, the hospitals are losing something like $50 million a year. This is Carilion and Lewis Gale combined. Approximately $50 million a year by not expanding Medicaid. It just makes no sense at all. And the state is not getting about $2 billion a year we're entitled to. These are monies we've already sent to Washington. They're our monies. Bring them back and put them to work. And the hospitals need the funds. And so it's just both a moral issue and it's a financial issue.
Great. Senator John Edwards, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Woody.
Thank you for watching Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Comcast. Until next time, I am Woody Evans.
Mm-hmm.